10. Now there were in Samaria 70 sons of the house of Ahab. So Jehu wrote the letters and sent them to Samaria, to the officers of Jethro, to the elders and the guardians of Ahab's children. He said, "As soon as this letter reaches you, since your master's sons are with you, and you have chariots and horses, a fortified city and weapons, choose the best and more worthy of your master's sons, and set him on his father's throne. Then fight for your master's house." But they were terrified and said, "If two kings could not resist him, how can we?" So the palace administrator, the city governor, the elders, and the guardians sent their messages to Jehu. "Where are your servants, and we will do anything you say. We will not appoint anyone as king. You do whatever you think best." Then Jehu wrote them a second letter, saying, "If you are on my side and will obey me, take the house of your master's sons and come to me in Jezreel by this time tomorrow." Now the royal princes, 70 of them, were with the leading men of the city, who were ruling them. When the letter arrived, these men took the princes and slaughtered all 70 of them. They put their heads on a basket and sent them to Jehu in Jezreel. When the messenger arrived, he told Jehu, "They have brought the heads of the princes." Then Jehu ordered, "Put them in 2 pews at the entrance to the gate until morning." The next day Jehu went out. He stood before all the people and said, "You are innocent. It was I who conspired against my master and killed him, but who killed all this? Know then that not a word of the Lord has spoken against the house of Ahab will fail. The Lord has done what he promised through his servant Elijah." So Jehu killed everyone in Jezreel who remained to the house of Ahab, as well as all his chief men, his close friends, and his priests, leaving him no survivor. Jehu then set out and went toward Samaria. At Bet-Eked the shepherd, he met some relative of Bakis, son of Judah, and asked, "Who are you?" They said, "We are relatives of Asa, and we have come down to greet the families of the king and the queen mother." "Take them alive," he ordered. So they took them alive and slaughtered them by the well of Bet-Eked, 42 men. He left no survivor. After he left there, he came upon Jehoiada, son of Rechab, who was on his way to meet him. Jehu greeted him and said, "Are you in accord with me as I am with you?" "I am," Jehoiada answered. "If so," said Jehu, "give me your hand." So he did, and Jehu helped him up into the chariot. Jehu said, "Come with me and see my zeal for the Lord." Then he had him ride along in his chariot. When Jehu came to Samaria, he killed all who were left there of Ahab's family. He destroyed them according to the words of the Lord spoken to Elijah. Then Jehu brought all the people together and said to them, "Ahab served Baal a little. Jehu will serve him much. Now summon all the prophets of Baal, all his ministers and all his priests. See that no one is missing, because I am going to hold a great sacrifice for Baal. Anyone who fails to come will no longer live." But Jehu was acting deceitfully in order to destroy the minister of Baal. Jehu said, "Call me assembly in honor of Baal." So they proclaimed it. Then he sent word throughout to Israel, and all the ministers of Baal came. Not one stayed away. They crowded into the temple of Baal until it was full from the end of the other. And Jehu said to the keeper of the wardrobe, "Bring ropes for all the ministers of Baal." So he brought out ropes for them. Then Jehu and Jehoiada, son of Rechab, went into the temple of Baal. Jehu said to the minister of Baal, "Look around and see that no servant of the Lord are here with you, only ministers of Baal." So they went in to make sacrifices and burnt offerings. Now Jehu had possessed 80 men outside with this warning: "If one of you lets any of the men I am placing in your hand escape, it will be your life for his life." As soon as Jehu had finished making the burnt offerings, he ordered the guards and officers, "Go in and kill them, let no one escape." So they cut them down with the sword. The guard and the officers threw the bodies out and then entered the inner shrine in the temple of Baal. They brought the sacred stone out of the temple of Baal and burned it. They demolished the sacred stone of Baal and then tore down the temple of Baal, and people have used it for the lantern to this day. So Jehu destroyed Baal worship in Israel. However, he did not turn away from the sins of Jeroboam son of Nebat, which he had caused Israel to commit, the worship of the golden calves of Bethel. And then the Lord said to Jehu, because you have done well in accomplishing what is right in my eyes, I have done to the house of Ahab all I have in mind to do. Your descendants will sit on the throne of Israel for 4th generation. Yet Jehu was not careful to take the law of the Lord, the God of Israel, with all his heart. He did not turn away from the sins of Jeroboam, which he had caused Israel to commit. In those days the Lord began to reduce the size of Israel, also overpowered the Israelites throughout their territory, east of Jordan in all the land of Gilead, the region of Gad, Reuben the Manasseh, from Arab by the Arnon Gorg through the Gilead of Bashan. As for the other events of Jehu's region, all he did and all his achievements are they not written in the books of the annals of the king of Israel. Jehu rested with his fathers and was buried in Samaria. And Jehu's king, his son, succeeded him as king. The time that Jehu reigned over Israel in Samaria was 28 years. 11. When Athaliah, the mother of Asa, saw that her son was dead, she proceeded to destroy the whole royal family. But Joseph, the daughter of King Joram and the sister of Asa, took Joseph, son of Asa, and threw him away from among the royal princes, who were about to be murdered. She put him in his nurse in the bed to hide him from Netra, so he was not killed. He remained hidden with his nurse at the temple of the Lord for 6 years while Athaliah ruled the land. In the 7th year of Judah sent from the commanders of units of the 100, the chariots and the guards, and had them brought to him at the temple of the Lord. He made a covenant with them and put them under the oath at the temple of the Lord. Then he showed them the king's son. He commanded them, saying, this is what you are to do. You who are in the 3 companies that are going to duty on the Sabbath, a third of the guarding the royal palace, a third at the sure gate, and a third at the gate behind the guard, who take turns guarding the temple, and you who are in the other order, 2 companies that normally go to Sabbath during all of the guard to temple for the king. Station yourselves around the king, each man with his weapon in his hand. Anyone who approaches your ranks must be put to death. Stay close to the king wherever he goes. The commanders of units of the 100 did just as Joab the priest ordered. Each one took his man, those who were going on duty on the Sabbath, and those who were going off duty, and then came to Joab the priest. Then he gave the commanders of spear and shield that had belonged to King David, and then that were in the temple of the Lord, the guards each with his weapon in his hand, stationed themselves around the king, near the altar and the temple, from the south side of the north side of the temple. Joab brought out the king's son and put the crown on him. He presented him with a copy of the covenant and proclaimed him king. They anointed him, and the people clapped their hands and shouted, long live the king. Then Athaliah heard the noise made by the guards of the people. She went and people at the temple of the Lord. She looked, and there was the king, standing by the pillar. As the custom was, the officers and the trumpets were beside the king, and all the people of the land were rejoicing and blowing trumpets. Then Athaliah tore her robes and called out, Treason, treason. Joseph the priest ordered the commanders of units 100, who were in charge of the troops, bring her out between the ranks and put the sword on anyone who follows her. For the priest, he said, she must not be put to death in the temple of the Lord. So they seized her as he reached the place where the horses entered the place grounds, and there she was put to death. Joab then made the covenant between the Lord and the king and the people that they would be in the Lord's people. He also made a covenant between the king and the people. All the people of the land went to the temple of Baal and tore it down. They smashed the altar and idols of pieces and killed the Mathan priest of Baal in front of the altar. Then Joab the priest posted the guard of the temple of the Lord. He took with him the commander of hundreds, the chariots and the guards of all the people of the land. And together they brought the king down from the temple of the Lord and went into the palace, entering by way the gate of the guards. The king then took his place on the royal throne, and all the people of the land rejoiced. And the city was quiet, because Athaliah had been slain with the sword at the palace. Joshua was 7 years old when he began to reign.